Okay, so hello everybody. I hope you're all doing very well. It was nice to meet a lot of you at the show last weekend. And between me, Andrew, Kate and Emma, I think you all managed to speak to one or the other of us there, or just handed in your little postcards to register for this. So the whole idea of today is that we run through any questions and answers you'll have if you want to text them into us, and we'll answer those for you. But it's all about how we can help you move to Spain and what is the right way to move to Spain or to buy a holiday home in Spain. Talking you through the purchase process, things to look out for, people that can help you along the journey as well, and then a little bit of an idea of different areas which might suit your requirements as well. So if you do have any questions, you can send a message through on the system on Zoom and we'll pick that up, or put your hand up, and at the end we'll take everybody off mute and you can send us some messages. And if you want, as we always say, to have a one-on-one with us to discuss your specific circumstances, then we're more than happy to book that into our diary over the next few days as well. Maybe not the weekend, because we're shattered after last weekend. One day next week would be great. So as you all met Emma, I'll just...
Hello, how are you all? Okay, so Jo.
Yes, Emma.
Can you tell us or tell them all about yourself
and
the area that you cover?
I can. So my name's Jo. I'm Joanne Alderton. I own Aldertons of Spain, and I set this company up about 9 years ago now. Basically, the idea of Aldertons is that we are assistants in the whole process of relocating or purchasing a property home in Spain. We set it up because of our own experiences. I say we, that's the royal we. I am like the Queen. And we did set it up as our own experiences of moving over here. Were quite interesting, to say the least. But also that my background, I had lived in Spain for a long time prior to us purchasing our first house over here. And my background was I was the area manager for a company called Sunworld, which turned into Thomas Cook. So I've lived all over the world. I've moved many, many times. I've had to get residency many, many times, and I've had to find property for a lot of people in a lot of different countries. So I have this wealth of experience that I was able to help people out with. And coupled in with the moving experience that we had into this area, I decided that I could do it better than a lot of the others. So that's why we set up. My main mission is to make sure that everybody that works for me is educated and is qualified in their respective areas of expertise. So on the team at Aldertons, we have Emma, who is qualified in immigration, as am I. Will help with all visas and residencies, and we're very proud of the work we've done. Emma actually teaches in one of the local universities in Valencia, which helps agents be registered in Spain. So that's one of the things that we'll talk about. And we have a lot of solicitors and lawyers in this area that concentrate on conveyancing, will send their clients to Aldertons for the visa service that we offer as well. So we act on behalf of the solicitors in order to process those things for them. The other side that what we do is the property side, the actual helping people to find the right property and how to navigate the bureaucracy over here with regards to the pitfalls that you watch out for with property that's you'll see online and property that just simply isn't available. We can help show you how to find what's available, what's not available in the area, and give you a few little pointers on that as well. So yeah, that's Aldertons, and next question, Emma.
Perfect. So in this area, what attracts people to buy in the Marina Alta? What is it that makes people go, ooh?
Yeah, so we're actually based in an area called Marina Alta, which many of you may not have heard of before. Marina Alta is situated between Valencia and Alicante. Our services cover the majority of Spain, or all of Spain actually, when it comes to the visas and the residency work. And when it comes to the property and us working on your behalf with the property, then we concentrate between Alicante and Valencia. So that entire coastline there. Some people know it as the Costa Blanca North, other people know it as Alicante, other people know it as the community of Valencia. It has many different names, but in reality, each area, the area between Valencia and Alicante is split into 5 or 6 different not regions. In the UK, we would more likely call them counties, something like that. And those counties, so you've got Alicante and Valencia. And between them, you've got Marina Alta, Marina Baixa, El Safor, etc. So there's lots of different ones. It's quite confusing when you're looking online. If you're looking on a portal, and you might find that you're looking in Alicante, and that will show you things that are in Alicante South, Alicante North, and things that are actually outside of Alicante as well. But the agents will list them as Alicante in order to get your attention and bring some footfall through the door of the property. The most important thing is that you need to search down on the county within the region. And they're so big, these regions, they're so big here. So you need to research the county that's in that area. Think of certain towns that would attract you and have a look at what that county is. And then when we're looking on certain websites over here, like Idealista and Quiero and places like that, search for the county. And that will give you an overall perspective of what's available in that area for you, rather than just a specific town. Okay. But this area in particular is known for its orange groves. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. It's also known for its beauty because it's very green in this area. It's not arid as in some other areas. And it's great networks to get to Barcelona, to get to Valencia, to get to Madrid, and to get to Alicante. You've got the super fast trains in this area that take you from Alicante or Valencia into those areas. We can be in Madrid in an hour and a half. And in 2 hours, we can be on Ibiza by going with the ferry. So you drive on, which I've just come back from as well. So we just did a little trip doing that a couple of weeks ago. A further few hours and you're over into Mallorca and Menorca. So it's such a glorious area. It's got so much going for it. And I think one of the busiest towns that most people know of in this area and tends to put a lot of people off is Benidorm. So people will think, oh, it's Benidorm. It's so much more than Benidorm. Benidorm is a town within a county. Okay, so if you ever think Costa Blanca North, don't think of just Benidorm. Think of much more than Benidorm. It is what it is. It's there, does what it says on the tin, and it doesn't appeal to everyone, but it does appeal to quite a few. Yeah. However, outside of Benidorm is just a paradise, and I really do. I bang that drum quite often because it's very beautiful around here. So yeah, sorry, yeah. I wax lyrical about the Marina Alta because I love it. I apologise.
Okay, so some people have heard horror stories about buying in Spain. Okay. Is it safe buying in Spain? What are the secrets to ensuring that you can achieve a trouble-free property purchase?
Okay. So these days, yes, it is safe buying in Spain. One of the things over the past, 20, 30 years, you'll have heard of various different laws of land grab or various different things where builders have gone bust and taken the money. And yes, that did happen. However, these days it has been tightened up massively. In this region, for example, in the Valencian community, all agencies, developers, anybody who works within the property industry has to be registered. Okay, that's a very new thing. It's just starting in October of this year. So as of Monday, basically, everybody who works in this industry must be registered. They must have passed their exams in order to qualify to work in this industry. And that means a minimum of 200 hours study in things like technical issues, planning issues. I'm very proud I've done mine. And, there's a lot of people over here that have been studying very hard in order to comply with this. But there are still a lot of people out there that haven't and that haven't got that registration. So later, after we've done this webinar, we will send out the information about what to look out for. It's called the RAI number, which is an industry number. And this is in the Valencian community. There's a separate one for the Barcelona region and a separate one for the Balearics. They're also going to be rolling it out in the north of Spain, in Cantabria and Bilbao and areas like that. And I haven't heard anything about the Costa del Sol and the Andalucía region yet. They've not said anything, but they will. It is something that's being rolled out, and you do need to make sure that is something. If you're choosing to work with someone, make sure they are registered. Otherwise, they don't have any insurances. They don't have any, they shouldn't be invoicing because it's illegal. So yeah, simple as that. So buying now in Spain, everything, if you buy something that's new and it's from a developer, then they have to provide a bank guarantee. And that is one of the things that before you put a deposit down or make a reservation, you ask to see that bank guarantee on that property and it's safe. The other thing that we always advise is that we use an independent solicitor. So whilst over here, there are many, many agents that are quite capable of doing the conveyancing, ourselves included, we don't ask you to do that on your behalf. Sorry, we don't offer to do that on your behalf. We offer to find lawyers, in the area that you're buying. And that is very, very important, that will look after you while you're making that transaction. The reason we say in the area that you're buying is because when you purchase a property, the bylaws in Spain from town to town, even from area to area within that town, change hugely. And if you have a lawyer from Alicante and they are looking at property or looking at conveyancing the property for you that's in the north of the region up towards Denia, for example, they don't have experience. They don't have experience in those bylaws. Now, they should be looking into it and they should be getting all the information, but many don't, because conveyancing on the surface is actually quite easy, but many of them don't do that. So there's Andrew from the show as well. Sorry. Right. So please. So what I need you to do is speak to the lawyer, find out their areas of expertise and their areas of operation. One of the other reasons we ask you to do this is because when we are looking at doing the conveyancing and we have all the nuances of each of the bylaws within the town that you're at, there are many, many, many little issues that can be resolved with a phone call to the town hall architect. Now, that town hall architect, if he knows the lawyer that you're dealing with, is much more amiable to taking that call and passing the correct paperwork through, rather than someone they've never dealt with before. Spain is still a town, a city, a country of people deal with people. It's not what you know, and it's who you know. Yeah. So if you are dealing with people that have no experience in the town hall where your property is registered to, it can delay the process. And that's not, it's not a bad thing, but it doesn't expedite things. And the whole journey of purchasing property in Spain should be a nice journey. It should be a happy journey. It's a very exciting time of life. So therefore, why go corporate? You should be doing things with a smile on your face and you should be enjoying the entire process. And by seeing how Spain operates at ground level, from person to person and from face to face, you're getting a much broader interest in the journey. You're getting a much better experience yourself. So there are brilliant solicitors out there, brilliant lawyers out there, but please choose one that's in the area or the town that you're going to actually find your property in the end. It really will help you and benefit you in the long run. Okay. The horror stories that happened previously with regards to mayors and town hall architects being corrupt, etc., that has dissipated. That has gone completely. There's been many mayors and architects that have ended up in prison for the permisos, the permissions that they gave out. But what has happened is that they've devolved the town hall architect from the mayoral position. So the town hall architect now has to be apolitical, which basically means that they are not to be affiliated with any political party, which therefore has alleviated the entirety of any bungs or backhanders that go away. So really, it's something to bear in mind, but always our big top tip, if you're going to buy safely, is 100% use a lawyer, and please try and use a lawyer that's in the town that you're going to be buying your property from, or one of the connecting towns, but just not someone in a different region. It just makes no sense whatsoever, in all honesty. Okay.
So we're all familiar with the role of estate agents, for example, in the UK. Mm-hmm. How does that role of a property agent vary in Spain?
Okay, so I've touched on it slightly by the property agents in Spain now, or certainly in this rolling it out region to region, have to be registered. Property agents in Spain it's a dual job. Okay, in order to legally register a property online and publicize it, they have to hold a contract with the seller. So like in the UK, an property agent, a real estate agent, is employed by the vendor of the property. Okay, they don't work for you as the buyer. Okay, unless you have a contract with somebody, they are not your client. You are a customer. Simple as that. Their client is the person they hold the contract with, and that is the seller of the property. And that is something that when you move to Spain, many people forget. And they feel that the agent is somebody that's working for them. And many will say they are, but they're getting paid by the seller. So it's in their interest to get the best deal for the seller because that's their client. Okay. the pitfalls to watch out for, not the pitfalls to watch out for, but the role of the estate agent or the real estate agent in Spain is to list that property, to make sure the property details are up to date. They will always have a clause that you have to have all of the details that they're telling you about online corroborated by an independent lawyer. So you can check out that what you're buying is actually 100% as stated. And if not, then there's room for negotiation. But the real estate agent also must act with impunity. They must state what if you ask them, they must tell you what they're getting out of the deal with the seller. So what commission rate they're on, how much that would be of that, because at the end of the day, you're buying that property. So you're the one that will be paying the commission rate in the end, either via the seller of the property who will pay it once they've received your money, or beforehand in order to get someone to work on your behalf. But say a real estate agent is somebody that works on behalf of the seller. This is differentiated by a buyer's agent who works on behalf of the buyer. So you've got two different types of agencies here. And what we say here is it is imperative. The way that properties are listed in Spain, they are listed so that there's big collaborations. People share each other's properties so that they get a split of the commission. What you need to do is be aware of who is the actual listing agent, because that will get a better negotiation rate rather than filling down the sale, the commission rate to 4 or 5 different, going up the chain, 4 or 5 different agents. So it's very important to find out who is actually listing that property so that you can get direct to the mouthpiece, the person that's got the direct contact with the seller in order to do the best negotiation. Okay, so when you see online on Rightmove and Idealista and Quiero again and A Place in the Sun website and things like that, there are a lot of agencies on there. I'm sure you've all looked at houses and you'll have seen the same property 10, 12 times on there with different agents that are listing it. Some of those agents will have direct access to the owner of that property. Many of those agents won't. They will have taken that property from other agencies that have fed it to them to advertise it on their behalf. If you go through to that agent, they then go through to agent number 2, agent number 1, finally get to the seller. So it's be aware that that is how it works over here. A top tip is once you've found your area, choose one agent to deal with in that area. If you choose that one agent, they will be working on your behalf. Take them on as an exclusive agent working on your behalf. Let them do the work for you. Let them find out who is the initial listing agent on each property. You sit back. Again, this entire journey is about you enjoying yourselves. It's supposed to be a nice, pleasant time of life, moving you overseas. Yeah. And we want to make that happen for you.
So is that, we offer the property finding service?
Yeah, precisely for that.
Is that what the property finding service entails?
Yeah, it's precisely for that. There are different exams that you can do, okay? And one of the exams that I did was the accredited buyer's agent. So I can very confidently act on behalf of the purchaser, working with you to find the right properties, to find the initial listing agent on the properties, or indeed find the owner direct. And doing it that way means that we have a contract between us so that you're not telling 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 different agents your story, what you're looking for, getting the same thing sent through to you all the time. You're telling one person who you're going to build up a rapport with, who you're going to build up a relationship with, who will act as the mouthpiece, your eyes and ears on the ground over here. So by doing it that way, we then get a very smooth journey when you actually arrive out to start viewing, because the person that you employ to take on your behalf, the buyer's agent, will actually have done all the homework, will have done all the hard work, will have got together the lists, will have done the itinerary because they know the area that you're coming to, so that they'll have already sorted the wheat from the chaff. We're looking for Mrs. Jones and she wants 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and she wants to be able to walk to bars and restaurants, but she also wants a south-facing terrace and she wants a private or communal pool. And when the agents send everything through, because we know the market, we can say straight away, no, 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 yes, yes, no, no, no. This is a horrible house. There's no way. It's been on the market for 15 years, or this is way overpriced. So we can go and see it, but be prepared. We're going in with a low offer if it's the one that you want. That's the role of a buyer's agent, right the way. It's almost like the little devil on your shoulder. When you walk into a house and fall in love with it, your buyer's agent is going to point out all of the pitfalls of the house as well, to make sure that you keep your eyes absolutely wide open.
Okay, so when people are ready to buy in Spain and they're ready to make that leap, okay, what recommendations, they're going to come out, they're going to look at the area, what recommendations would you give to people to make sure that they make the most of those trips?
Yeah, again, first off is book yourself in 3 days in one place. Choose an airport, Alicante, for example. And if you're not completely sure on the area that you want to be in, please go maybe fly into Alicante and book 4 days in the south and 4 days in the north of Alicante, so that you're doing a direct comparison, or 5 and 5, whatever. And during that time, reach out to various different people or a person, it's entirely up to you, that can help you, that has knowledge of that area, that can show you around the area, that can tell you basic things. So if you're actually looking for something that you're going to move to, if you're looking at relocating, then we need to be looking at things like healthcare. We need to be looking at things like if you twist your ankle or break your hip, you know, how does the ambulance get to you? Where's the nearest hospital? Are there English-speaking doctors in that area if your Spanish isn't up to scratch in one of those situations? What's the internet like in that area? Lots and lots of different things. Have you got animals? Is there an area where you can let the dogs run, or is it safe for cats, or are there hunters if you're looking in the countryside? You know, lots of different things that will make an impact onto your overall decision. If you take the time to reach out to people in those areas, they will give you that background info. And then you can start homing down on different areas that you really do want to hit. And during those times, hit those areas, meet the people that are in those areas that can give you the background information and bring it to life for you. And at that stage, don't even think about the property. The actual bricks and mortar comes way down the line. You have to be able to think, oh, if I'm relocating or if I'm buying a holiday home, I want to be in an area where, yes, I might love my house, but I might hate outside as soon as I step out of my garden or my doorway. And then it's the wrong house in the wrong area. What you've got to do is fall in love with the area first and think, oh, I really love this. I really want to be in this region. I really want to be able to be close to Alicante City, or I really want to be close to Moreira, or whatever it is. We use that as the base and base it from around there. One of the biggest pitfalls that we come across, especially when we do the shows in the UK, is I would say a good 70 to 80% of the people we meet ask us about a specific area and say, oh, we're looking at this area. And when we straight away ask, have you been there? No. They've never stepped foot there. They've never looked at that area. They're just looking at prices of property or what you can get for your money. And honestly, that's the wrong way to do it. You need to invest a few weeks beforehand, or a few weeks in the year or so beforehand, just experiencing and smelling the areas that you're thinking about. And once you've done that, then you're ready to start looking at property. But we always say we cut our cloth accordingly. You may be able to afford a 5-bed villa with a pool and gorgeous views, but if it's in the wrong location, it's not good. The location that actually reaches out to you and grabs you and makes your heart beat faster, you may only be able to afford a 2-bedroom penthouse with a communal pool. So it really is, be open with regards to the property and be focused with regards to the location that you want to be in.
Okay, so some of the attendees are looking to buy holiday homes or an investment property. And when they're not there, they want to be able to rent it out on a short term or a holiday basis, get some return on investment there. What do they need to take into consideration if they're looking at buying a property that they want to do short-term rentals on?
Okay, so first things first is distinguish between short-term rentals and long-term rentals, because there are different rules and regulations in place across the whole of Spain for those options. A short-term rental is classed as a holiday rental. In Spain, it's normally a rental that's under 11 months of the year. Between 6 and 11 months would still be classed as a short-term rental. You will need, if you're doing a short-term rental and it's a holiday let, so a week by week or a 2-week basis or something like that, you must be registered with the tourist board of the region that you are in. So Alicante, where we are in northern Costa Blanca, we come under Valencia in total. So Valencia is the region. And in this area, you have to be registered on the tourist board here. You have to complete a number of requirements. So no gas in the house. It must have an electric hob, or it must have extraction fans. In Andalusia, it's got to have air conditioning. Every single region has its own requirements. In Barcelona and in Mallorca, they're not issuing tourist licenses anymore. So if you're thinking of buying something in those regions to rent out and go and visit yourself, but also get a small income on, you can't unless it's already got an established tourist license on it already. So there's lots of pitfalls in that region, and that is why you need to take somebody with you who knows that area, and use a lawyer in that area as well that can do those checks for you. So for example, if you're with me, I know which areas are good for rentals, bad for rentals. You know, it's that's my job. It's where I am. But I also know that I have Emma in my office and her team that we can get the tourist rental license organised within a matter of weeks. We know exactly what we need to look out for in the house if we're going to make an offer on it in order to get that tourist rental license. So we know whether it's worth negotiating. It gives us a little bit of extra insider knowledge, so to speak, in order to get the license put on it. So, and we also know that if it's saying it's got a tourist license, we know where to go to check that that license is valid, that it's all up to date, etc. So, you know, it's one of the things that we just need to make sure that we're looking out for. Now, if you're doing a long-term rental, it doesn't have to be registered. Okay, so that's something completely different. That would normally be from 12 months onwards. Okay, and that's, you'll find a lot along the costas. So Blanca, Costa del Dorado, Costa del Sol, Costa del Sur. I'm speaking Spanish there. All of those areas, they will try to get you to do a 10-month rental or 8-month or 9-month rental and move out in the summer months, because they want to rent it out for holiday rentals in the summer months. So if you're looking at getting a golden visa or a non-lucrative visa and being a pensioner or retiring or just taking time out in Spain every year for 8 to 10 months or so, that type of rental would probably suit you really well, gets you out of the intense heat. But you would also need to move out lock, stock and barrel for a few months. And we see those type of options being offered all the time. It's becoming more and more and more popular. It's becoming more and more and more difficult to get 12-month rentals in any of the costas. And if you do get 12-month rentals, they're expensive.
Okay. So some people are going to have to use finance to purchase a property. How does the mortgage process here in Spain vary to England?
Okay, so basically in Spain, it's very similar actually. The bank wants to lend you money, you have to comply with their requirements. If anybody does need a mortgage, which isn't that popular over here, I've got to be honest, especially along the costas, the majority of purchases that trades take place are cash. Okay, it tends to be a second home or a retirement area where people have already made their money from property and are releasing the equity from one house and just putting it straight into a property or a holiday home. If you do need a mortgage over here, one of the things that we try to advise before you arrive out is get pre-approved. There are a number of specific mortgage advisors that deal with mortgages in Spain. They will talk you through the entire process, but as a rule of thumb, you can get a mortgage up to 75 years of age. It can be a joint mortgage, and it's based on the age of the youngest person within the partnership. You don't have to be married in order to get a joint mortgage. You can actually get mortgages for later, for longer, if you've got, depending on the pensions that you've got and the repayments that you would have to make. But the rule of thumb is that they would look to any repayment on a mortgage doesn't exceed more than 30% of your net income. Okay, so basically, if you've got 1,000 euros every month that's just free coming into your bank account, they wouldn't want more than 300 euros of that to be going out in loans. So that's something it's fast and hard. The interest rates are still lower than the UK at the moment. They're on roughly at the moment 3.84% for 2 years and 3-year fixed rate mortgages. Slightly higher if you go for variable, but that's what if you go for a longer term, but that's what they're turning out at the moment. But if anybody is interested in mortgages, let us know and we can put you in touch with one of the agencies that we work with that deals directly and only with mortgages to see if they can get the best rate. I would always say use a mortgage broker in order to get the mortgage, because they have their fingers on the pulse and will get, much like the UK, where you will get the best deal.
So do you have to open a Spanish bank account before you get a mortgage here?
No. Yep. No, if you're going to, and that's the same for buying a property as well, you do not have to have a Spanish bank account before you buy the property. People will have told you at the show, oh, we'll open it for you, do us a power of attorney, we'll do this, we'll do that. It is completely not necessary. You need a bank account that has an IBAN number or that you can set up a direct debit from to pay your taxes in Spain and to pay things like your council tax or, you know, your phone bills or anything like that. It doesn't have to be a bank on Spanish soil. Some solicitors will tell you it does. It actually doesn't. There are many banks now that are in the cloud, that so Revolut or Wise and things like that, that have Spanish accredited IBAN numbers that you are able to set up your bank accounts with and can pay perfectly your taxes and your bills from. They tend to work out cheaper than the Spanish banks, and actually all their apps and online banking is in English, so it makes it much easier. I've recently moved 90% of all my business banking over to Revolut because it's much more user friendly. So yeah, it's a very good system. If anybody wants the link again, we can send that out for you. We'll put an email together at the end of this and send it out to everyone with all the contacts of different things. When you're the beauty of one of those online companies as well is you can do instant money transfers. So you can have an account in English, an account in dollars, an account in euros, and you can transfer. So if you have your pension coming into your English account, because it will have an account and sort code on that account as well, you can get your pension, for example, or any dividends paid into it. And you can decide, I've got 5,000 coming in, I'm going to send 2,000 over to Spain. And you do it instantly on your app, and it's at interbank rates. There's no handling fees or anything like that. So for the smaller amounts like that, it's so much better. When it comes to the larger transfers, of if you get a mortgage in Spain, then that's fine. If you have a lot of money to hand over and get transferred from Great British pounds, for example, or dollars into euros, then use a money transfer company. Again, somebody like Currencies Exchange or a place in the Sun money currency transfer, one of those companies are much better at transferring large amounts. You'll get a much better rate of exchange and there'll be no handling fees. So always be aware of that. The banks will tell you there's no handling fees. There are. There 100% are. Spanish banks are famous, absolutely famous for charging you on different things. And it's just, it's bonkers. It really is. So yeah, just be aware that you don't have to have these days a Spanish bank account. People will tell you. And a little trade secret, people still hanker that work in the property industry, still hanker about getting you to open a bank account with them, this, that, and the other. And that's because back in the day, they used to get 25 euros per person that they opened the bank account. If they took you to Sabadell or BBVA or one of these other, Santander or whatever, they would get a 25 euro bonus, so to speak, for taking you and bringing that business to them. It doesn't happen anymore, but people are still stuck in that mentality and that psyche, and that's why they're trying to do it. It's not bad. Everybody gets money for introductions and things like that. It's age old. It's always happened. It's just that it doesn't happen anymore, and they're still giving out the wrong information. It's old information that's not necessary.
Okay, so having found the property, obtained the mortgage approval if needed, ready to make an offer, what's the next step?
So when you're ready to make an offer on a house, first of all, you've chosen your good agent or your buyer's agent to work with. We've got somebody lined up already. If we've found the right house, we've already know what lawyer we're going to go and use because of the area that you're in. You've got your money ready to go because you've got that set up with your money transfer company, and you can open a Revolut or a Wise account from where you're sat now. It doesn't matter, but it's opened up in seconds. So it really, that's covered. We don't need to do that straight away. What we need to do is sit down and think, how much is this house worth to us? How long has it been on the market? How long has it had any offers previously? Have they fallen through? There's lots of things to consider. Your buyer's agent or the agent you choose to work with you will go through all of these things with you and give you a good market analysis of the area that you're in. So the market at the moment is buoyant. It's gone off a little bit in this area, but nothing major. Recently, a client that we had from a place in the sun in Manchester, we've been working them since March and finally found a house for them last week. And literally it came on. My colleague Gillian went to do a video viewing for them because they've been out 3 or 4 times to try and find the right property. went to do the video viewing for them. They put the offer in there, and then there was 10 viewings on that day, and they lost out with a full asking price offer. So it just shows you, if the right property comes along, unfortunately, if it's good, you need to be able to make the move straight away and get there straight away. Now, they did actually end up buying, or they're going through the process of buying that house, because the people that made the higher offer couldn't get their finance in place. They hadn't done their homework properly. So now the agent came back to us and said, if it's still on the table, we got another 10 grand off for them because of the inconvenience. It's all happy. But but it just shows you that these 10 agencies in one day going through that door taking clients, because it just gone on the market. It was the right place at the right time, and it was the right price. So the market is really good. And I've got off on a tangent. What was the question?
Sorry. It's okay.
I do apologise.
So they've made it ready to make an offer. What happens next?
So first thing you do, be prepared to put a deposit down. When an offer is accepted, we want to be very clear what our offer is, and always ask your agent to put the offer in writing. Once we've had a place in the sun moment and the deal is accepted, follow it up in writing straight away to make sure that everything is clear about what's included in your offer, whether it's furnished or not, or da-da-da. Then what will happen is the selling agency, the representative of the seller, will send through a reservation agreement. That's stage one. Okay. Now that reservation agreement will state the property, what's called the cadastral reference, which is like the property land registry reference of the house, which is what we're going to need to give to the solicitor so that they can do the conveyancing. It will state the owner's name or the owner's representative if they've got power of attorney. It will also state the prospective buyers' names, as in yourselves. And it will say, okay, today we've received the offer for this price. The offer is based on X, Y, and Z. You have, and it will tell you an amount of time, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, whatever it is that we've agreed, in order to do the conveyancing on that property. Now, in order to take that property off sale, for you to do the conveyancing, you pay a reservation deposit. Now, in this area, in the Valencian community, if it's under 350,000, it tends to be a €3,000 deposit. If it's over that amount, it tends to be a €5,000 deposit. And if it's over £1 million, it tends to be 10 or 15,000 euros deposit. Now, that deposit is refundable to you. Okay, it basically means that you are putting a notation down to say, we're really interested, we'd like to spend further time investigating and making sure that everything's correct on this property. And if it is, we'll proceed with the sale. Now, in this reservation contract, it's very common for there to be specific clauses that state that if you walk away at this stage, you will lose your deposit. But they have to be clear on what those clauses are. And that tends to be, if you've just woken up and it's a Monday, you've decided not to proceed anymore, then I'm afraid you're going to lose your money. So you have to think carefully before you put that offer in and sign that contract. If there's a problem with the paperwork, so something isn't registered correctly or can't be rectified or something like that, then you have the right to walk away and have your full deposit back. If the seller decides to walk away at that stage, they have to by law return the money that you've put down. Okay, so there's a number of little clauses in there and where you will get your money back and where you will lose your money if you walk away at that point. Now, once everything is agreed, once the solicitor says to you, I'm happy, I've done the conveyancing on this, everything is registered, everything's where it should be, everything's correct with the property, or even there's actually a couple of anomalies here, but this will be fixed by this day and this day. We won't sign for the house, we won't complete on the house until we get them, but there will be no problem getting them. If your solicitor is happy, he will draw up what's called the ARAS contract, which is the exchange of contracts in the UK. And that's the law-abiding 100% bona fide contract. Okay. Now, at that point, it details everything, whether there's furniture included, what the breakdown of that furniture is. It will also deal in time frames. So from the date of the ARAS, we always call it the exchange, from that date, when you have to have completed for the property in front of the notary, when you walk away with the keys and pay your money. So the ARAS contract is the really important one. It's also referred to as the 10% deposit contract, because it's at that stage that it becomes 100% legally binding. Neither party can walk away without massive cost. So therefore, it's a done deal at that stage. Now, We call it the 10% contract because it is at that stage that you up your deposit to reflect 10% of the overall property price. So you bought a house, it's 300,000, you put 3,000 down as a reservation, you're going to put an extra 27,000 down at that point. Now, there's two ways that lawyers like to deal with this. Historically, that 27,000 or 30,000 deposit has always gone to the seller at that stage, and you pay them direct. What lawyers these days like to do is transfer that 10% to the notary's account. So it's like a
escrow account.
Escrow account, as we call it in the States as well. So that's a protected account where nobody can touch that money. But also, if you're using a registered estate agent, a registered buyer's agent, then they have to have by law a client funds account, which is insured for up to 120,000 euros. So that's one of the important things about having this registered agency. So everything in Spain these days, the money has to have a trail. You must always show where it's gone. So if you're paid, we don't pay to sellers anymore direct. What we do is you pay to the agent who's registered because they have to have by law that account, or you pay to the notary. One or the other, but that money is then safe for you, okay? Or you pay to the solicitor because, again, they are governed by the body and they have to have that insurance in place as well for client funds. So that's the only three options for that 10% deposit to go to. And then what happens if the buyer pulls out after you've done the exchange of contracts? Then the buyer is going to lose the 10% deposit that they've put down. So it's a huge amount of money to consider losing. If the seller pulls out at that stage, the seller has to return the 10%, which is why it should be really at the agency, the solicitors or the notary, because then that funds can be returned straight away. But if the seller pulls out, they return that 10% and the buyer has the right to request a further 10% compensation from them. And that's a legal right. So therefore, it puts people off from making that signature and taking that money without actually going through it. Just completely gets rid of all of the gazumping or anything else that can happen. So it's very interesting. It's very important to get to that 10% stage so that you don't lose the house, because that's the house of your dreams. But it also means that it's bona fide, it's stuck in, and it means that they can't pull out or nobody can come and put higher offer in or anything else like that after that stage. So it's a very important part to get through. So we do like to push through the reservation contract as quick as possible. If all the paperwork's in place, there is nothing stopping you going and doing that arras contract. That's where somebody like me would be on the solicitor's shoulder saying, draw it up, get it done. We want this house. We don't want anything else, because, there's consequences in Spain, and that's perfect. It works well. So personally, I think it's a much better system than I ever had in the UK, where I lost out on a couple of houses because I was gazumped. It just negates all that completely. So that's the buying process. Now, once you've done the exchange of contracts, like I say, you get in that exchange, in the contract, it gives a date by which day you must be in front of the notary. Your solicitor will have put a realistic date. So if there is a piece of paper or a certificate from the town hall that's needed or something like that, that will be reflected in that contract, and a completion date will be set with that in mind. There is also a little bit of room for manoeuvre if something does take a delay that's not expected. So don't panic too much. However, once you're sat in front of the notary, it's a very, very civil way of doing things. You're sat on one side, the seller's sat on the other, both of their representatives are there as well, and at the head of the table will be the notary. And the notary is simply a legal pair of eyes and ears in Spain that acts on behalf of the government, so to speak, to say, I am witnessing this transaction. I am happy that everybody here is compos mentis, that is fully aware of the transaction that they're getting involved in. And I am signing to say, I am letting this go ahead. What the notary is not responsible for is making sure that everything in that contract is right. That's what your solicitor is for. Okay. So the notary is saying, this is what's in the contract. Do you agree with it? And if you're signing it and saying it, then you're agreeing that what's in there is right. So at a later date, if you find something that's been wrong or something like that, it doesn't come back on the notary, because the notary is signed to say you're compos mentis and you were aware of what's in there. That's why we're so sort of fastidious about using the right lawyer in the right location, because we know that the lawyer won't let anything get past in that area. Okay, so many times you'll hear people on the forums or whatever say, oh, you can go direct to the notary yourself, you can do it yourself. Please don't. Please don't. We have seen people come unstuck with that time and time again. Just use a good lawyer.
So talking about the forums, you actually hear about people saying about power of attorney, and they suggest that quite often. Is it a good idea?
Actually, yeah. Power of attorney always makes me giggle a little bit, because it's something that comes up time and time again when we do the property shows in the UK as well. There seems to be a glut of solicitors there that say, oh, sign today for a power of attorney, or we'll do that for you, we'll open this for you, and we'll open that. There is absolutely no need. If you are planning on being at the notary and signing for your house, you don't need to give a power of attorney to anybody. They don't need to act on your behalf. There are things that, I mean, we've had power of attorneys from our clients. We have investors that live in America or live, you know, in the UK or whatever, and have no intention of coming over. They give us the power of attorney and we sign for them. But there's no need for it if you're not if you're in a position where you're going to be going over and signing yourself. You're quite capable of opening your bank account. If you have a buyer's agent or a representative who's working on your behalf, they will do all those things with you. It's a journey. It's something that makes it really enjoyable. And it also gives you an understanding of how life works in Spain. So signing all that away to somebody is a little bit, it sort of, you know, sanitizes the whole thing. So no need for a power of attorney whatsoever. Instances where power of attorneys can be good is, like I've just mentioned, if you can't be over there, or if one member of the family can, but you're buying it in two names and the other person can't get there, then yes, a power of attorney can be awarded, so the other person can sign on their behalf, or the solicitor or the agent can sign on their behalf. But you don't need a power of attorney to do anything else. Nothing at all. There's just literally no need for it whatsoever. We do more power of attorneys for people that have sold their houses and, you know, through whatever reason are moving back to their home country. They'll leave everything with us. They're already gone. So we'll deal with the power of attorney that way. But other than that, when you're moving out, we just don't understand this whole thing about power of attorney. It's really not necessary at all. There is always a time and a place. When you're actually over here, or if you're buying a holiday home and you're not going to be here, then you can assign a representative to work on your behalf. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a power of attorney, but you can get a power of attorney. And there's different levels. You can say in the power of attorney what it encompasses. So it could be to deal with tradesmen, to deal with council tax, to deal with anything like that on my property. Or it could be all encompassing, so that whoever's got the power of attorney can sign away your life, basically. So you've just got to be a little bit careful about the level of the power of attorney and whether it's needed in the first place. And in our experience, it's really not needed.
So during the buying process, what issues tend to arise?
Okay, so the main issues, I've covered this briefly before. The main issues is if there's any paperwork that's not in place on a property. When you look online or on the forums, or you're reading up about buying property in Spain, a lot of people use the word illegal, and it puts the fear of God at people. Now, I'd prefer to use the word unregistered rather than illegal. There's not a lot of illegal properties in Spain at all. Very, very few. What has happened in Spain over the last few years is a tightening up of their public bodies. So in the UK, we have the land registry and everything's registered on there. In Spain, they have a property registry and they have something called the catastral. And both of those functions add up to the land registry, basically. So what happens is, in previous years, the catastral has had something registered for that property, and the property register has another part of the property registered, and they've never been married up. So you'll find a house, you know, for argument's sake, again, I'm doing a 3-bedroom villa with a pool. And when you look at it and you look at the deeds, there's a garage there that's not on the deeds, or a pool that's not on the deeds, something like that. That doesn't mean it's illegal. It just means that it's never been registered. Now, it could be that it's been registered on catastral and they've not passed the information over to land registry. But like I say, that's all changing now. And every house sale, every purchase that takes place at the moment here is tightening up on all of this. They're getting everything, even down to the topography on the grounds, to perfectly map where the actual property is on the plot and things like that. That's all taking place. However, you will 99.9% of the time probably come up against something in the paperwork on a property over here, which will go, what do I do? Again, this is why we like solicitors in the right area, because they know the nuances of the planning laws in those areas. Where we are, for example, 6 months ago, there was not a problem if you wanted to buy a house over here and it had a pool that had never been registered. The owners have put the pool in 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and it's never been registered, or a garage or something like that. There was never a problem. You could do what was called retrospective planning, and you could get that included on the deeds. These days, and this is just in the last 6 months, if you want to get that put in on the deeds, they will make you request the habitation certificate, which is an important certificate that says that the house is registered completely and the town council sort of take responsibility for it, etc. But in order to issue that habitation certificate, the property needs to meet current day regulations with regards to green targets, etc., etc. So many of the houses over here, for example, are on septic tanks, which is not a bad thing. I personally prefer septic tanks to sewerage systems. However, the septic tanks that were installed 20, 30 years ago don't meet modern day standards. So what's happening now is, in order to get this habitation certificate and for the town hall to release it, they are making you upgrade the seller. They're making the current owner of the house upgrade the septic tank to today's standards in order to issue that document that you want, in order to register everything on the house on the day that you sign for it, so that what you're buying is completely noted down. So that can cause delays in the project, in the purchase of places. And again, I cannot tell you enough how important it is to use a lawyer in the area that you want to buy, because of these tiny little things. And we live in, like I say, the Marina Alta, but from one town to the next, they require different certification or different things to be accredited onto the habitation certificate. From one town to the next. So what's good in Benissa, for example, where I live, is totally different into Marira, which is exactly 2 minutes down the road in the town next door. They require different things. So this is why it's so important. And the notary won't stop the sale going through if that document isn't there. He's saying you're happy with the documents that you've got here, and you're happy with the house that you're buying, and you're signing to say yes. It's not the notary's job to point out that hasn't been done. It's your lawyer's job. Okay, so this is why it's so important to use them.
Surveys. Are surveys done here in Spain?
Yes. Again, you find many people that say no need to get a survey, and tends to be correct if you're talking about an apartment complex or something like that. If we've got clients that are buying in an apartment, we will more often than not say there's no need for a building or a structural survey, because the Administración de Fincas is called, which is the community, the community association, the company that's employed to manage the property, looks after all that, and the building insurance is shared between all the property owners. What we would say is, let's get an electrical survey done and a plumbing survey. Let's make sure that all those things are working within the property, so that we know that that's not going to be a problem. If it's a standalone property or a townhouse in a village or something like that, then yes, we always ask you to get a survey, because we want to be aware of anything that's likely to crop up and bite you on the bum. The house might look shiny and new, but it might have damp. Many houses here do have damp. It's not something to be scared of. It can be treated. But we are in a humid country, especially if you've got a property that may have a wall that's north-facing, then that north-facing wall is more likely to suffer from damp than the south or the west-facing wall. Likewise, the foundations on older houses in this area, they're built directly onto rock face rather than having an air void underneath, so that can cause damp. But having that surveyor come in, he will talk to you about these issues of this house in Spain, and he'll put it into layman's terms with how you're used to your houses, especially if you're from the UK. We use a surveyor here who's RICS registered in the UK, but also a member of the Association of Architects, basically, surveyors, in Spain. So he is great because he has one foot firmly in each camp, and he can perfectly relate to you. This is nothing to worry about. That hairline crack isn't anything to worry about, but something that you would completely have ignored, that's something to worry about, because the way that houses live and breathe in Spain is very different from in the colder more what, the UK countries or the American countries. So we always have to bear that in mind. But a good surveyor is worth his weight in salt over here. So simple things like roof tiles, the roof tiles here tend to be on ledges or little ridges so that they clip on. So you don't need a full roof doing. You can just do 1 or 2 little tiles at a time. If there's something cracked, it's very easy. There's lots of issues like that. But the surveyor, sorry. The surveyor will give you that full information, and it's really, really helpful. So as an average, you can expect of the fees to pay around about €800, €750 for a survey on a villa.
Okay. So talking about costs.
Yeah.
What are the costs beyond the actual purchase?
Okay. So when you're buying a property in Spain, this is due to change. Can I just put this caveat in? Because there is a new government in Spain now, and there's lots of wonderful rumours flying around about which taxes they're going to slash. And one of them is the purchase tax, which many of you will know about. It's the IPT. In this region, it's 10%. In Andalusia, it's 8%. And that purchase tax is a tax that you, as the buyer, must pay when you buy that property. So at the notary, all the money is transferred over to the notary. And when you're sat at the notary doing your not exchanging the contract, signing the actual deeds of the house, once that's done and the keys are on the table, the notary will then authorize the payment of your funds to all the different parties that are interested in the money that it's got to go to. So maybe paying off a mortgage or the big amount of money going to the actual seller themselves. They will have a solicitor that will have fees, normally in the region of around 1%, something like that. You will have the 10% IP, the purchase tax. You will also have notary fees themselves and land registry fees. So if you budget, again, about 1% for those. We always say budget 15% on top of the property price that you're paying. And that will cover all fees. Now, it's a big budget. We always overestimate. It will not come to 15%, but it makes sure that you never come unstuck. And a lot of that money then you'll be able to put to moving furniture over or buying sunbeds and curtains. Okay, but it's literally, budget 15% on top and you'll have plenty of money left over. But that 15% will encompass everything. It will encompass your purchase tax, your lawyer's fees, your solicitor's fees, whatever, your notary fees, land registry fees, every fee that you could possibly think of needing paying will be covered in that 15%. And the easiest way at the moment with the exchange rate as it is between especially UK GBP and euros is when you're looking online at properties, always look at the price in euros. And when you look at something, say it's 250,000, in your head, that's going to cost me £250,000 because the exchange rate is 1.15 to the pound at the moment. So if you look at things in euro price, that's what it's going to cost you in pounds, because at 1.15, that's basically your 15% on top. So it's the easiest way of working it out for you.
Okay, so many of the audience have indicated that they intend to rent before they buy in Spain.
Yeah.
Now, are there plenty of properties available for them to be able to rent long term before they make the decision to buy?
Yeah. Depending on the time of year, yes. If you plan on coming out, and I would always say if you're renting to see how it goes, that's a brilliant thing. And we do that with lots of our customers over here. What we would say is when you are looking at the rental market or the times when you want to have a look at what's online or what's out there, be prepared to reserve it quickly because rental properties do go, and be prepared, as I touched on earlier, to move out for 2 or 3 months in the summer, because the people that are renting the houses will want to rent it out in the summer months for the big bucks. What they would rent out for €1,500 a month over the winter period, they'll get 2,000, 2,500 a week in the summer period. So it's really difficult finding 12-month rentals. Now, if you go a little bit further inland, you will get 12-month rentals. It depends on where you want to be. Okay. But again, 12-month rentals come with lots and lots and lots of caveats. If you have dogs, if you have cats, there's so many things. And I would caution. A few years ago, we had lots of clients that were renting. We had a lot of clients that sold up over here and went into rented accommodation because they wanted to release the funds, send it back, tax avoid, no, not a tax avoidance, that sounds wrong, but inheritance tax and things like that to get rid of. But unfortunately, for 3 or 4 of the clients that did that, because the market has jumped quite swiftly, they've now been served notice to move out of those houses. And where they were paying 600, 650 euros a month, the landlord, whilst legally is not saying that it's going back on the market for rent, we know damn well that they're going to do that. In order to get you out of that contract, they have to tell you they need it for personal use. So they'll take it for personal use for a few months. They'll put their daughter in it, or they'll put, a friend of the family and say it's them that's in there. But after that, it'll go back on the market and it'll go on at 1,000 euros a month or something like that. And it's a horrible thing that's happening, but it is happening. So I'm really, really not anti. I'm really, really wary of long-term contracts around here. And I'm sure that happens in the UK as well. But I see it happening more and more over here. And it's not nice at all, especially with a lot of the customers that we've dealt with in this situation are in their 70s, 80s. They've been here a long time. And moving at that time of life, as you're all aware, I'm sure it's not nice. It's a very stressful situation. We're dealing with 2 clients at the moment, and it's not nice at all. So if you're open about it and if you're prepared to move out in the summer months, happy days, and let those people make more money on that property in those summer months, fabulous. But if you're not, then always have one foot or have an emergency backup in case, because your rights as a tenant are really good. They are really well protected, but they're not infallible. And we are seeing it now.
And just briefly, if they were to do a rental on a long-term property, what kind of deposit would they be looking at paying?
So the law changed in Spain. Previously, it used to be you would pay 1 month upfront as a finder's fee and 1 month of this and a 2-month deposit. And all of a sudden, you're like 6 months out of pocket and you've not even got the keys to the door yet, That's changed. So what happens here now is if you're doing a long-term rental, it is the owner of the property that has to pay whoever's rented that property out. They have to pay them their fee, whatever it is, whether it's a commission or whether it's a fixed fee or whatever contract they've got with them. They are responsible for paying it. You as the tenant don't have to pay anything to the agency. Okay. Now, that's what's in law. Again, what actually happens in reality here is something completely different. The rental market is bonkers. It is completely off the scale at the moment. So it's like the Wild West. And you might know that it's illegal. You might know that that's what they're charging and they shouldn't be doing. But if you want that house and it's the only one there for you, you're going to pay what they're asking in order to secure it. So it's a horrible situation. I'm really not a big fan of rentals at the moment. You can tell this, but it really makes me mad when I see the other side of it and we see how it can affect people. Now, in saying that, if you are determined to go down the rental route, choose your time wisely. It brings me back to what I said at the beginning. From end of September onwards, for a 6-month or 8-month winter rental, it gives you plenty of time to get out there to see the properties, to see the area that you're considering in a different light, in a real life light, without the madness and balminess of the summer seasons in Spain. And it will allow you to negotiate a better rent, because the people that rent the houses out for the summer rentals are quite happy to do a deal on a longer term winter rental. Now, if that happens, and if you're interested in something like that, then again, for the area that you're interested in, choose a good property finder, a good buyer's agent, or a good agency that's got rentals, and let them be your eyes and ears on the ground. Again, if it's the right place for you, you know the area you want to be in, let them run out and do video viewings for you and secure it for you. If it's just going to be a temporary thing, let them secure it for you, because that's how you get the rentals. The market is stupid. I'm not going to lie. It's not nice at all. But then again, if you go half an hour, 40 minutes, an hour inland, we've got more. It's a slightly slower way of life. You will be able to get on the plane. You can probably hold it before you come and view it yourself in person and things like that. So always bear that in mind.
Okay. Well, that's the end of the questions that
Oh,
I've
wow.
got. I'm going to ask.
I feel like I've spoken for a week.
She's only just got her voice back from the weekend. I'm going to ask if anybody's got any questions.
If anybody's got anything, then just put your hand up and we'll answer it. If not, as we said earlier, we're quite happy to have a one-on-one with your individual requirements, let you know if you do want to come out to this area, then, you know, I'm the owner, my husband and Emma, and Kate, who you will have met at the show as well, we all take you out and show you our area. We're very proud of where we live. We're all in love with where we live. So if we can introduce it to new people who've never considered it before, then that would be great. But if you're interested in knowing the next steps, which would be looking into visas and residency, then we've got those webinars coming up over the course of the next few weeks. Every Friday we're doing one, talking about specific visas, golden visa, and then 1 week will be the non-lucrative visa, and all the rest of
nomad,
them,
and then
EU
residency.
And things like that. So lots and lots to talk about. I mean, we really are users and abusers. We are the oracle. We do have so much knowledge in this area. We want people to do it the right way. So please do reach out for us. If you want to push your journey forward and you don't want to wait for all of the webinars, reach out to us and we're happy to do a one-on-one with you as well. But if you've liked what you've listened to today, then please tell the world about us, because, you know, we'll do Carver Fridays. I think we'll make it every Friday with a Carver.
Oh, we have a question.
Oh, we have a question. Let me just unmute you there.
Ask to unmute.
Oh, I have to ask you to unmute. You've got to unmute.
I'm unmuting.
Hello.
And I go, hello. Well, just a bit of feedback. I found this really, really informative.
Oh, thank you.
Very, very interesting. And you know, the hints and tips have been amazing. And well, I just can't wait to get out there and start the ball rolling now.
Well, that's the idea. That's what we're here for, is to help everybody out at the end of the day. And do you know, one thing that I've not realized we haven't actually spoke about is if you want to use us, then the property finding service that we have, you would be with myself, you would be with Kate, or you would be with Andrew, and we would take you out and show you around, and we are your eyes and ears on the ground in this area. But if you don't want to be in this area, we do have some good connections with people in other areas that we can put you in contact with as well, you know, and, you know, wave you like proud parents off on your first day at school into your new life. But yeah, I mean, we would love to be able to invite you all up to this area and show you around, because we just think it's paradise and perfection. So yeah.
I'm going to pronounce this, and I'm Welsh, which doesn't make it any easier. I'm trying to learn Spanish, but do you cover Benihoffer?
So Benihoffer is about an hour or hour and a half south from where we are. So it's just outside of our remit, but we do have people in that area we can put you in contact with.
Yeah, is that a nice area as well?
It's very nice. It's not as nice as where I live, obviously. But yeah, it's a very lovely area. And this is why we say earlier, choose an area. So Benihoffer, for example, is serviced by Alicante Airport. And we would always say, come in, do 5 days in Benihoffer, get to know the area, we can put you in contact with people down there, and then do 5 days in the opposite direction from the airport. And use that time wisely to really discover the areas, and you'll fall in love with somewhere. You really will.
So your area, you're further north. Yeah, you're further north.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. So from Alicante, if you came from Alicante Airport, it's 1 hour or 50 minutes from Alicante Airport to where we are. And if you came to Valencia Airport, it's an hour. It's an hour to us. So we're equidistant between both airports.
Yeah. Okay. No, but, you know, really informative, you know, about the solicitors and the different regions, and how, you know, you need to make sure that you get a solicitor that knows that area.
100%. Yeah. That is one of our biggest pieces of advice we can give to you, because we see it time and time again. We have clients that we're showing around, and then they've already taken on, even at the show, they sign and pay at the show to some solicitors that are based down in Andalusia or South Alicante.
It's crazy.
And they're buying something up in Benidorm, or they're buying something up in Denia or something, and they don't know the area, you know, and it's even down to silly things like the utilities. You know, has the house got a gas tank or gas bottles, or is it all electric? And if it is, who's done the inspection on the gas tubes? And the solicitor, normally a solicitor will get involved in those type of utility, you know, get the paperwork in to get them, but they don't even go down and know that it's got a gas tank, for example. They just see it's gas and they don't investigate further into it. So when you've got a buyer's agent like us, we're there as it's like an extra layer. We know that we're going to be the ones having a drink with you when you've bought your property, and we see you on a daily basis. So we're going to make sure that everything's 100% correct. And if the solicitor's missed something, hello, we're going to, where's that? Why are you not asking for that? And we'll ask why. You know, if has a law changed? Then, you know, sometimes it might have done, but at least we'll be asking the right questions for you.
Brilliant, thank you.
No problem at all.
Sort of question coming up on the chat there.
Oh, where is that?
There,
okay.
just there.
That is, which areas do you cover? We had this link following place in the summer and we spoke to a number of people. Hello, Jason. So, Jason, we cover, well, for all of Spain, for visas and residency, that's not a problem at all. But for the property finding and the assistance with purchasing and finding the right place, that's between Alicante City and Valencia City. So that entire coastline, North Costa Blanca, South Valencia.
Oh, very much. Yeah. The other question I had, we've currently got hi, you can hear me. We've got a property in the UK at the minute. We've just put the property on the market.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put my camera on. Yeah, we've put our property on the market. Literally the weekend we come back from holiday and visited the place in the sun exhibition. So at the start of our journey. So our plan is, as soon as we sold the property, we're looking to move out to Spain and do a residency visa. I'm UK. My wife, Monica, she actually is originally from Poland. So she'll be applying for an EU residency visa, and I can do the spousal visa off the back.
Yeah.
Key question, what we're looking for support is two things, really. Number one, that whole process of getting the residency, but also when we come out, how long do we need to sign up initially for a rental agreement so that we can apply for that residency visa? Because the idea is that once we've secured that and we've rented for a short term, we'll be looking to purchase a property. So it's really minimum 3 months, 6 months, and just looking at so we're looking really for end-to-end help with that kind of
that's exactly what we can help you with,
and then eventually buying a property once you've got that secured. And that's really our journey that we're starting.
Exactly what we can help you with regards to the residency visas. We are doing a number of webinars on that, but we'll speak to you on a one-on-one basis because it's very individual to you. But you are very lucky that you have your Polish wife.
Yes.
So absolutely treat her like the queen she is. I say that to everybody. She absolutely is your passport in with you know, and not proving as much and doing as much the you know, the hoops that you have to jump through these days. But we'll go into that. Like I said, we've got the webinar next week and the week after on those. But if you want the one-on-one, we can organise that. With regards to renting a property, one thing that I should have touched on before for everybody was that when you're renting something with a view to buying or to moving out before you buy a property, then the rental agreement that you do has to be a long-term rental, even though it's only for 9 months or something like that. We need to go into a rental where the landlord of that property will sign a document to say that you can go on the padron at that property. Because a lot of people come out and take Airbnbs for 6 months or something like that. You don't get a padron. You can't use that rental contract to get a padron. And without the padron, you can't get the residency. Okay, so when we're looking at properties to rent, it's one of the first questions that we ask. Will we be able to go on the padron if we rent at this property, even if it's a fixed month, 6 term or something like that? But what I would say, again, if you're renting somewhere to buy and you haven't found your house yet, give yourself a good 6 months to 8 months to do it. And you might take a hit and have to lose some of the rental because you've found your house beforehand. But that's a better situation to be in than doing a 3 month and being homeless and still not having found somewhere. Is try, like I said earlier, try and come out end of September, October and do it during that period, because then you've got longer to negotiate a rental. You've got more properties are on the market during that time. If you're looking in the summer, it's hard because a lot of the properties are rented out, so you can't get into them, which is really frustrating. I have to be honest. It's one of my pet hates in this area. And also be prepared if that property itself that you're renting is also up for sale, then be prepared that one of the caveats of you renting it might be that you have to keep it in good stead and be available to do viewings on that house.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, but try and do it over the winter period, and always make sure that your contract will get you a padron, or the owner will sign. It's like a release form that you will be able to go on the padron.
Just to say, the padron is a town hall registration certificate. It basically certifies that the address is recognised by the town hall.
Oh,
okay. And that will be the address that would appear in your instance on the EU residency and then on your TIE card as well.
For us in the UK, it's very similar to the electoral roll, because once you're on the padron, you're able to vote in the local elections.
Okay.
Anybody else for any further information?
Any questions?
Oh, you're a good lot. Oh, she's asked yes again. Go on. You need to unmute, my darling. Can't hear you. You need to unmute.
Yeah.
There we go.
Me again. We've got a house in the UK in Wales. I wanted to sell the house because there's no way I want to rent it, because we'd just be unlucky and just get nightmare tenants. I know it. I know it. My husband wanted to keep the house for a little while, even when we've bought in Spain. But we bumped into a gentleman in a place in the sun, and he said, if you buy a house in Spain and you've got another house, it would be classed as having a second property. And he said, be very careful, because unless we sold it within 6 months, we could be hit with capital gain tax.
Yeah. So this is all to do with the residency that you apply for. Okay. So if you buy a house in Spain within the first 6 months of the year, so from January to July, and you move out in that year as well within the first 6 months of the year, then you are then responsible for, or you will be classed as fiscally resident, which is a tax resident basically in Spain that year, which means that if you sell anything in your home country, so in Wales, during that year, and you make a gain on it, that's a capital gain, and you pay the tax on that gain in Spain as a tax resident. So what people tend to do is put the house on the market, move or buy. You can buy in Spain at any time. That really doesn't matter at all. That doesn't affect capital gains in any way, shape or form. But what you do need to do is become a resident in the second half of the year. Okay, if you're selling your house in Wales in that year, become a resident in the second half of the year, because then any gain on that house that's sold in that year, if you've been a resident from halfway through the year onwards, you haven't been resident in the country long enough to be classed as tax resident. So therefore, you don't pay tax on the gains that you've made around the world. Okay, so it is a little bit more complicated on that. I've brushed over it very, very quickly, but that is the hard and fast of it. And that will be another webinar that we're doing about, you know, the tax implications on that and stuff. We'll bring a tax lawyer in who will talk you through all of those. Have you seen how grey I am with immigration and blooming property finding? We don't do tax as well. But we do work with some very good tax lawyers that will keep you on the straight and narrow with that. But yeah, it's a good question, because it does affect a lot of people's timeline of when they're going to be moving over. So something else to... one thing that he was wrong in saying to you there was that if you have a house in the UK and you buy in Spain, that your house, you're still classed as being, as your principal residence is in Wales. That's not true. If you're moving into your house in Spain, that's your principal residence, and you don't pay tax or capital gains if you sold that house. If you invest money from your house sale on the Welsh house into your new Spanish house within 2 years, then you don't pay capital gains on it. Okay, so principal residence to principal residence, we can, that's what that comes down to, but we can absolutely guide you through that. It's just, everything's like a military operation, from the visa to the property finding to the tax. It's just doing it at the right timelines, and you'll get the better. You're making it most cost effective for you. Yeah. We have somebody else, but just there. Do you want to just? Hello.
Is it me? Is it me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Just a quick question to follow up on a one-to-one with you. Do we book that like online? Like, will we just
Yeah,
email
absolutely.
me?
If you send us a message on here and we can take your details, we will. Have you all got our email?
Yeah, you sent us one, so
perfect.
we'll just send back on that
Yeah,
one.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Send the email through to us, and then Emma or one of us will be in contact with you to book in a time and a date, and we can set up a private Zoom with you.
I think for that's the next step. Have a one-to-one with you. Yeah.
Well, I look forward to it.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're done there with everybody. We've got no more coming in. So I hope hopefully you've found it useful, and we've given you a little bit of introduction into how we work, who we are, and how we can help you. Like I say, any questions, send them through to us. That's what we're here for at the end of the day. Oh, we've got another question. Go on, Jay. Yeah.
I just want to ask us, so if you book an appointment for the residency, would that be in Alicante?
From an EU perspective, yes, but it will depend. It depends where you're going to settle. So you can't get residency as an EU resident at a town hall or at a extranjeria. What's that in English?
Immigration.
Immigration. That's not where you hold your padron. So wherever you get your padron for your registered address, that's the Policía Nacional, the National Police Station or the immigration office that we need to go to in order to get your residency.
Yeah, but what I'm saying that I'm assuming, because I do like what I'm hearing from now, so I'm assuming we will go somewhere around you. Would that be in Alicante then?
It would be in Denia, Benidorm, or Alicante.
Yeah. Okay, because the reason I'm asking, because I heard lots of people say because it's a quite common place for Brits to go, so therefore people have very, very long queues to get an appointment in Alicante. So
it's peaks and troughs. It really is peaks and troughs, and it's the same across the whole of Spain. So like, for example, September is always busy in August because the students have arrived in the area and they take precedence over everybody else to get the student visas out. If it's Christmas, everyone's on holiday. If it's July, nobody wants to work. It's just one of those things, unfortunately. But we're lucky in this area. It is a busy area for immigration, especially from EU. And from non-EU, but it just means that we have more staff here to help and more offices to go to. So if you're further inland, for example, then you've only got one office that you can go to and it might only be open part-time. So yes, there's a lot of things that people say on the forums, but they don't have the experience of what it's like in the other areas.
So what happens in the worst scenario? We arrive and we're waiting and there is no appointment for another month or two.
So there's an unwritten rule when it comes to immigration. I should let you answer this because you're my immigration expert. Sorry, I just talk too much.
So basically, as an EU, okay, Monica, you have your EU rights. Because you're married, your rights are then projected onto Jason, okay? So the fact that you could be in Spain longer, or Jason would be in Spain longer than the 90 days, that's fine. He's married to an EU passport holder and your rights are projected onto him. At the moment in our area, it's taken around 2 months to get an EU residency appointment.
Yeah.
Okay. However, we have the advantages because I'm linked to immigration. I can then put Jason's application in online and he doesn't have to wait for an immigration office appointment. However, you would have to attend in person.
Yeah.
But even though the rules state that within 90 days or 30 days, that you have to register on the European Registry of Citizens in Spain, etc., which is basically the green card residency, there's an unwritten understanding in this area that there is not as many people working in processing that as there should be. So you will not have any trouble whatsoever by not having it within that 30 days. That is it's never happened and it never will happen. Your rights as an EU citizen, you have free access to the whole European Union to live and work. You don't have to get on that register. Spain wants you to get on that register, but your rights as an EU citizen supersede that.
Okay, well, aren't you all jealous of my passport?
We're permanent residents here anyway. She's getting a passport. Bear with me 1 second. We have another question. Do you want to just unmute again? You need to just take off mute.
Sorry, me again. We are going for Irish passports. because our grandparents were, both our grandparents were Irish.
Right.
So we think they'll be coming through probably in the next 8-9 weeks.
Oh,
So
perfect.
our lovely lady there, who's Polish, will we be sort of treated the same because we would have our Irish citizenship and Irish passport?
Yeah. I say this all the time about the Irish passports. Since Brexit, Ireland's population has, I think it's quadrupled. It doesn't have many people living on the actual island, but across the whole of the world, there's literally, it's one of the biggest populations in the world, I think.
We got everywhere.
But yeah, having the EU passport, I mean, regardless of what everyone's personal opinions are on Brexit, it's a crying shame that we've lost that right to live and, the travel and live wherever we want. And, unfortunately we have, but we deal with it. And there are ways that you can get your residency, but if you can get your Irish passport, that does make life a lot easier.
Okay.
Right.
I think we're done.
Right. Well, you can go, you horrible lot. I need to go for my tea now. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. And well, like we say, I hope that you have found it useful. We've enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah.
And we would love to see some of you in the flesh over here for sure. And help you through the entire process. So reach out to us if you want the one-on-one, and just tell everyone about us, please. Spread the word, and we will be doing these on a weekly basis. So get everyone to jump on board. Okay, thank you everybody, and see you soon.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.